Welcome to the fourth episode of United Talk. We've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. The Villa game played last weekend, international roundup, and we've got a special feature as well. So let's start off with the Villa game. Your thoughts, Annie?
Hey guys, so as usual for United this season, we fell behind, 2 goals behind and 2-0 down and looking for a way back into the game. And Ferguson throws on Hernandez at half time. He's not afraid to make substitutions to change the game, even early on. And Ashley Young came off, who was pretty ineffective on his return to Villa Park. And of course, we all know Hernandez changed the game. He's an incredible player to come off the bench. He's always hungry for goals.
Incredible.
And you give him one chance, he scores his first goal. Lost control of the ball, the chance had gone, but he still managed to score. And it was similar to his finish against Chelsea in the League Cup, when again he was put clean through and he just gets the job done. The amount of options we have in attack is frightening.
Yeah, he's a real class player, Hernandez. I mean, he'd be starting for most teams, but for United, he comes off the bench and does a great job.
Yeah.
And I think, his pace and his movement bothers the defense, who have been playing since the beginning of the game. So they're already tired.
Yep.
They're
and they're having to deal with RVP and Rooney battering them from the start.
Yep.
And when Hernandez comes on, his movement is giving them a real problem. Because Rooney and RVP, as much as they like to score, they also like to create. And having Hernandez there, whose just job is just to score goals. They enjoy playing
a great
with him.
poacher.
Yeah.
But, falling 2 goals behind again and again and again, I mean, this is a bad habit.
Yeah, Ferguson was talking about this week, saying this is our Achilles heel, and he hopes that we don't do it versus Norwich. And he's also mentioning how the fact that we're making comebacks raises the morale in the dressing room, and it's quite different from just winning a game like 2-0 or 1-0. There's a different feel to it, and that obviously helps, but we can't do it against every team. We fell 2-0 behind versus Spurs, and not 2-0, but Spurs, and we couldn't come back into it. And I thought that there are times when against the best teams you might not be able to do that. Definitely not in the Champions League.
Exactly. I mean, once you play against...
Yeah, in the knockout stages, we can't afford to concede away goals to the opposition at Old Trafford. So it's something that we have to address, and we've got defenders coming back now. Smalling came back last week, and then Johnny Evans, of course.
But he didn't look particularly good, did he?
Yeah,
he looked a bit rusty to me.
Shaky, and got out-muscled by Benteke for the first goal. Well, I think it's something that he can sort of build on, though. I mean, he has been out for a long time and maybe lost some...
Exactly, yes. Once he gets some match fitness back, he'll be sharper and I think more confident. I was looking over the recent results for United, and it's been seven games since we've kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
That's incredible. 7 games, and out of those 7 games, in 5 games we've conceded 2 or more goals.
Wow.
That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, for a top-tier team, this is just unacceptable.
Yeah, I definitely...
All right, so, Annie, quickly give me your top 3 players for the Villa game.
Well, it's difficult because I didn't think we had any standout performer Hernandez. Exactly. He was brilliant, but I'll give some credit to RVP. I thought he was quite unlucky not to score with an amazing shot from quite far out, hit the crossbar. Great free kick for Hernandez's goal as well.
Yeah, great delivery.
And last but not least, De Gea made some couple of saves at the end, and I thought you couldn't really fault him for any of the goals that we conceded, and he was solid.
Yeah, pretty much. 2 goals conceded, but the defense was at fault for both of them. I think De Gea had a good game. Yeah, my top 3 were the same as well.
Yeah.
So not many to pick from, really.
True. And moving on to the rest of the league, we had Chelsea versus Liverpool. What were your thoughts on that game?
I was actually watching that game, or part of it anyway, and I thought both teams are... Well, I think Chelsea have been, of course, better than Liverpool this season, but I think both teams have been on somewhat of a bad form streak recently.
Yeah.
And, Chelsea scored first. John Terry coming back from 4 matches.
Yeah.
From a 4-match ban, and he scored, but then he got a pretty nasty knee injury.
Yeah.
Which should keep him out for quite a bit.
Yeah, well, that's what we thought, but apparently he's going to be back in 3 weeks now, and it's not as bad as first feared.
Yep, but, and then Suarez, Liverpool's one shining light this season.
Yeah.
Equalized for them.
Yeah.
And, I saw the Suarez goal, and the defense was all over the place for Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think they've had a lot of trouble from set pieces this season.
True, and it was interesting because, Chelsea in the first half were dominating the game, and they had so many chances. And to put the game to bed, I remember Mata going clean through when he shot over the bar, and it was interesting because at the end of the game, towards the second half, Liverpool were growing into the game, and at the end they look more likely to actually win the game and take.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end you have to say fair result, and Chelsea will rue the missed chances in the first half.
Yep, and it's a good thing Chelsea have begun to drop points for United as well.
Yeah, they're now 1-3 Premier League games now, and difficult match away at West Brom coming up for them. So.
Yeah, because at the start of the season, Chelsea were looking close to invincible.
Yeah.
I mean, win game after game after game.
Yeah.
It was unsettling.
And
we also had City versus Spurs.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, again, City once again conceding from a set piece, really shambolic defending, and they really have to sort that out. But great start for Spurs, but after that they seemed to die away. It was almost like City were playing versus 10 men. And it was attack versus defense at times, and I thought Dempsey had a game to forget. He was just nowhere. And Adebayor on his own up top, he actually, I thought, did really well. He had a good game. But Bale and Lennon were anonymous. Tottenham didn't have the ball. They couldn't spread it wide. And City were just attacking constantly. Silva was back, and you could see it made a difference to them, because when he plays, they have a lot more flow to their game.
Oh, definitely, yes. He's a class player.
Aguero took his goal really well. Great finish. And then, of course, Edin Dzeko doing the business. He's their top scorer now for City.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, 7 goals, and he must be wondering what he has to do to start a game.
Also, speaking of starting the game, what does Hernandez think about that?
Yeah,
he's been off the bench again and again and again.
The untenable situation with the super sub. But also interesting, like City switched to a 3-5-2 towards the end of the game. Maicon came on and actually worked. For the first time, I think I've seen it work for City, because Wendong then looked like he was absolutely exhausted, and Maicon had some joy down that right flank, and then of course Silva released Dzeko. Great finish for the winner.
Yes, and I think one more quality I've noticed about City this season is that they are playing like champions, if you look at it. I mean, grinding out wins when they need to.
Yeah.
And really, clawing their way out of uncomfortable situations time after time after time.
Yeah.
I mean, excluding the Champions League, of course, where they have been pretty dreadful.
Yeah, but that's coming back to the same point that we were talking about United at the start, that maybe you can get away with conceding leads or playing slightly poorly in the Premier League, but in the Champions League, the best teams will punish you. And that's what City have suffered. And United luckily, we've been able to beat Braga, and we've had an easier group, we have to admit that.
And, definitely. I think the easiest group.
Yeah, and City just not been able to get out of those sticky situations, and that's why they're heading out of Europe.
And they're facing elimination, I mean, one more game and they're done.
Yep.
Well, anyway, we also have a little bit of information about the rest of Europe, especially the La Liga, where Real played Levante at the weekend.
That was some game.
Some game indeed. Real winning 2-1, but the manner of the win was rather shocking.
Yeah.
Please tell us more, Anthony.
Waterlogged pitch, abysmal conditions, and Levante were kicking the Real players off the pitch, literally. And a lot of controversy at the end of the game. You must have heard about what happened in the dressing room. The Levante captain, Ballesteros, coming into the Real dressing room. Pepe was winding up the fans.
Isn't he?
He is. And Ronaldo, you have to admit, I have to say that even with one eye, does the business, scores a goal. Incredible.
Yeah, I think that's what true goal scorers have. I mean, they don't need vision to score.
Yeah.
They have that, that goal-scoring gene in them. Yeah. But, Ronaldo wasn't the hero of that day. Who was?
20-year-old kid by the name of Alvaro Morata. Incredible. And obviously Mourinho's been under a lot of pressure from the press and the fans of bringing in the youth and bringing them into the Real Madrid team. And this kid has come on and he scored from a free kick, and very, very happy.
And Xabi Alonso missed a penalty as well, but it was his free kick that got Morata the chance.
Yeah, it did everything. There was everything in that game. And I have to say about Ronaldo, something about Ronaldo and Messi and other top players. They get kicked mercilessly week after week. And you saw the horrible injury to Ronaldo, cut above his eye, and they still have the courage to get up, keep playing, to demand the ball, to not hide. It's amazing. And they deserve a lot of respect for that, because it's easy to maybe have more physique, but to have this to go with it, that's very difficult. That's what separates the top players from the good players.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think they know that they're viewed as leaders in their team.
Yeah.
And for a leader must be selfless.
Yeah.
And I think they definitely are now.
True.
I think they're both very mature players.
True.
Even though they aren't exactly very old.
Yeah.
And they get the job done time and time again.
Yeah.
Messi scoring twice as well against.
And
Mallorca.
Did he pass Pele's record for goals?
He did indeed. 76 goals in a calendar year.
Yeah.
I mean, most teams don't score that much.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And he's on course to break Gerd Muller's record as well.
True. And talking about scoring a lot of goals, moving on to the international friendlies, and Sweden inaugurated their new stadium with
And how?
friendly versus England. And I have to ask, is that stadium going to see a better individual performance after the first one by Zlatan?
I'd be very surprised. I mean, I'm actually speechless at how brilliant Ibrahimovic was in that game.
Yep.
I mean, you had 11 players of England versus Ibrahimovic,
Yep.
and he beat all 11 of them to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We just
Yeah, it was men
that
versus
bit
boys.
of
It was
feeling.
incredible.
It was literally Zlatan 4, England 2.
Yeah.
That should have been the score, and it was. Ibrahimovic absolutely brilliant. I mean, they fell behind at first,
Yeah.
but then they came back, and how?
Yeah, he's got everything, and that fourth goal, I think we've all watched the video, we've all been amazed, and we all probably tried at some point and failed. But it just shows that incredible level of skill which English players don't have, because they won't attempt that, or if they attempt it and fail, then they get castigated for not taking the safer option or passing.
I mean, forget about attempting. Most players couldn't volley that if they were looking at the ball.
True.
And Zlatan does it with it back to the goal.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Incredible. And he's just a brilliant player, and I've not been following him at PSG, but how is he settling in there?
He's doing really well. He's the League One's top scorer this season. And even though PSG have looked rather disjointed whenever they've played, because a team is more than the sum of its parts, and PSG have acquired a lot of good players, but they aren't exactly gelling.
Yeah.
But the thing about Ibrahimovic is, whichever team he plays for, you'll get goals.
Yeah.
You'll get goals, you'll get assists from him.
And you'll probably get the league, because he's been winning the league everywhere in Europe.
Everywhere. I mean, last year was the first time he hasn't won a league in, I think, 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
Absolutely brilliant. And I think he has been one of PSG's brightest stars in this season.
I think also, if you look at it on a broad spectrum, the whole issue about the international friendlies being quite a waste of time, and most club managers don't like it. Mm-hmm. We, of course, had Robin van Persie pull out of the Holland game, and Rooney was injured and he pulled out. And managers prefer their star players to pull out of these games. I heard Arsene Wenger's comments about Cazorla going to Panama.
Yeah, that is far away.
He said, I don't understand what he was doing there. It was 30 degrees, so it's good for sunbathing. He was just sitting on the bench, and he was really frustrated because it's a long flight.
Yes, that brings us to our special feature. I mean, the international game has really lost its appeal now to both players as well as fans.
Yeah.
And I think the club game has been pretty much dominating the world of football for the past 15 years.
True. I mean, if I would ask you, what would you rather? So, what do you think would have more quality, a Champions League final or a World Cup final? What would you say?
I'd definitely say Champions League final because a World Cup final is two teams which play with players from the same country, and players from the same country in general have more or less similar skill sets.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Whereas when it comes to the Champions League, you have the elite of Europe, which in itself is comprised of the elite of the world.
Yep.
So you have the best of the best playing against each other, and I don't think you can get a better
styles, and it's incredible how it comes together, and you can see
it's really difficult to get a better game in football. Although of course World Cup finals and Euro finals have their own appeal, but I think when it comes to the club game, I definitely think, like, for example, the Champions League final would be a bigger game.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think it's interesting how it's evolved over the years, because I remember 5 years back, I was always proud when a United player got called up for his country, or, for example, Evra was captain of the French team. I remember being really proud of that. But now,
yes, me too.
All I care about is that they don't come back injured. That's all I'm worried about, them getting injured. I don't care how they do. I'm not really worried about the results. I'm just worried if they get injured, or whether United will have to suffer with not having them for a specific period of time and missing games. And I'm really happy when Rooney pulls out, or English player Rio's not playing for England anymore. I'm delighted by that, because I think it might be selfish, but I'm looking at what United needs rather than the international game.
And that's pretty much what every club manager thinks of as well. I mean, no one wants to send their players off for a useless friendly and have them come back injured for 2 months.
True.
It's just a waste for everyone.
Yeah.
So I think that's why managers are more and more critical of international friendlies, or even international qualifiers. Come to think of it, managers would really prefer if their players retired.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, like Scholes retired from the England scene, has been able to prolong his United career. So
exactly, and Ferguson was delighted when Scholes retired and Giggs retired, and they could focus their energies and their enthusiasm and everything into the club game.
Yeah, but also, I mean, it raises the question: as a player, would you not want to be playing for your country? And because all the players talk about how proud they are to play for their country and represent their nation, and does that sort of, is there a conflict of interest with the club, and because they are paying?
Exactly, yes. I think the issue of money comes up here. I mean, no matter how you put it, football has become a money-driven game now. And I think more than just a sport, this game is a source of, livelihood and, a way of life for players.
Yeah.
And without football, they're pretty much nothing.
True.
Which is why I think they aren't exactly paid for playing for the international team.
Yeah.
And an injury over there could end your career, and you'd be left, without a job.
Yeah.
So, just looking at it from a logical point of view, I think most players would prefer to play for their clubs where they get paid, week in, week out, as opposed to, playing for the international team where it's really easy to get injured for a relatively lower reward.
Yeah, true. Exactly.
But of course, there's the issue of representing your country, which I think every player wants to do. But I think after some point, it starts to get pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
I remember reading in David Beckham's autobiography that there were times that he thought that he didn't want to represent England anymore.
Yeah, and that's incredible because he, I think of all players, is one of the throwback to the old era that he desperate to play for England all the time.
Exactly, but even he mentioned that, the constant scrutiny by the press, the constant criticism from the press, the fans, the intensely high level of expectation.
Yeah.
I mean, which player would want to go through that?
That's true, exactly. Yeah.
And there isn't much reward in playing for your international team. I mean, sure, you might be a World Cup winner, you might be a Euro winner.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to the end of your career, you'd be more looked at as, what did you achieve with your club?
That's true, yeah. And, of course, let's move on to the coming up games for United. Norwich away and Galatasaray away after that in the Champions League. Any predictions for that?
For Norwich, it's so difficult to predict now what United will do. I mean, conceding is a fairly obvious risk now.
Yeah.
And that really pains me to say it, but it is an obvious risk now.
Yeah.
So I'd say United 3, Norwich 1. And the United will definitely score, but of course they'll be without Rooney for this game.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is a loss for any team. But
I heard he's a doubt. I'm not sure whether he's definitely not going to play or...
Oh, well, even if he is, I doubt Sir Alex would risk him for this game.
Yeah.
I mean, relatively easy game to play. But I think, I was looking at Norwich's results, and they're unbeaten in their last 5-6 games.
Yeah, they are actually doing quite well. Chris Sutton's done a very good job, I think. So.
Yes, and, but I think United should win this one.
Yeah. And,
relatively comfortably. 3-1 for me. What about you, Annie?
I would say 2-1, same as last season. Hope it's not go down to the 90th minute like last season when take us out of a hole, but... I definitely see us conceding, unfortunately. Hopefully I'll be proved wrong. But what about the Galatasaray game? What do you think? Cause
United have already, locked up qualification, locked up top spot. It's pretty meaningless to play any of your first teamers, really, for the remaining 2 games of the Champions League. So I'd go ahead and say that United will probably lose this one, 2-1, I'd say.
Yeah. I would
assuming Alex puts out a relatively weak team.
I would go for a 1-1 draw, hopefully. Hopefully the younger players can draw away in Turkey. I think it'll be a really interesting experience for them because Galatasaray, one of the most hostile stadiums in Europe.
Yes, and they don't have a bad team, come to think of it.
Yeah, exactly. So it should be a good learning curve for them. And lastly, just a bit of promotion, guys. Follow us on Twitter, United Talk, and like us on Facebook, same name, and subscribe to us on YouTube. We'd like you to get involved, so leave comments, anything you want us to discuss on the show, or anything you feel you might have missed out, please let us know, and keep watching. Thank you.
All right.